Okay, welcome back to the channel. We're working on the carburetor for the old school Stihl chainsaw. The one that I want you guys to try and guess what model it is. So it's all cleaned up. It's all ready to go. I know we've seen this before on building carburetors, but this one is slightly different, so I thought I'd show it. So I know I don't need that stuff. Okay. And the reason why it's different is because of this diaphragm. And the arm, where they have to lock together instead of typically sitting on top. So, one of the first things we got to do is install our Welch plugs. We have a small one. And the small one goes over this spot here, and down in there is a screen with a little retaining clip. Typically you can see what areas you have to put it on because it has a ridge there. You drop it in on top of that ridge and it'll sit there, same way with that one, until you're ready to expand it. So we're going to drop the small one in. Make sure it's seated down in there properly. And I believe this one is. And then all I do is take a punch. Depending on what size it is, I might use the punch end, or I might use the end that you hammer with. So this one's a real tiny one, so I'm going to use the punch end. I'll just take my hammer, set the punch right dead center of that Welch plug, and it's aluminum, so you don't have to wail on it. Just tap on it. Give it a tap, check it out. If you think it needs more, give it another little tap. And there we go, that one's in there. Sometimes you can some clear fingernail polish is also a good thing to have around to help seal them off if you think you have any issues or there's some imperfections or whatever. I don't use it too often, but once in a while I do. Here's our large Welch plug. That's set into place, and looks like we might have a little bit of a problem. Looks like this Welch plug is slightly larger than the hole. So let me check out one of my boxes. And I don't throw away anything. So anything that might be left over in a carb kit, I just put in one of these boxes. There we go. Got one to fit, and I'll take that one, I'll stick it in there. But it sits down below, sits down in there good, nice and snug. And it's sitting on that ridge, and I'll expand that one. And that's why I don't throw that stuff away. There's little bits and pieces left over. I have a carb kit that not every carburetor uses everything in the carb kit, so keep that stuff. Right. I'm going to use the larger end on this one. we go. That should have that sealed up nicely. Alright, we're going to take our needle valve. We're going to drop that into place. We'll take our needle valve, needle shaft. And grab our spring, set our spring into place. Or maybe not. We're going to loosen up the screw here. Don't take it all the way out, you don't need to. Just back it out of there. We'll shove that shaft right to one side. We're going to scoop it under the screw head. And we'll set it down onto the spring. At the same time, scooping up underneath of the valve. And there we go. It's all sitting into place. Snug down your little screw. Make sure everything works like it's supposed to. And my spring's not in the place like it's supposed to be. I gotta redo it. I might not have to pull it out all the way. I might be able to just see if we can tuck that spring under there. Nope. Not gonna work. Alright, let's try it again. Put your spring into place. Slide the shaft right to one side. Usually I slide it towards the whichever side the screw is on. I'm gonna tilt it in there. Sit down on the screw and scoop up underneath the needle valve. And looks like this time we got our spring to stay in place. I'll probably need to make some adjustments to the arm here. It looks like it sits way down in there, so I'll probably have to lift that up. But when I push down on it with a screwdriver, it's not even enough to lift up on the needle valve. So, and I think it should be, if I remember, it should be flush with the inside of the carb body. Usually just take your screwdriver or something and get up under it and just lift up on it a bit. So now it's starting to lift up on that valve, needle valve. Yep. I think I need to go a hair more. And there we go, that's pretty flush. Might not be perfect, but it's there. And now that'll lift up on the needle valve a good bit. Now, you need to orientate your gasket in the right direction. So I believe that center hole there on your gasket goes over that little center stud right there on the carburetor. And what you got to do is just kind of fold it up like that a bit in your hand and look through there while you're doing that and take that groove on that diaphragm and slide it into that fork on the back side. Once you got it in there, you're good to go. Just taking, if you're not sure and you can't see it, just kind of lift up on it a little bit. If it don't move, you're good. And there we go. We got her. I believe I goofed up. I did that in the wrong order. So we're going to take it back off. Gasket. Diaphragm. Oop. Pop right off of there. Come on now. There we go. There we go. Put your cover on top. And then install your screws. Alright, now we're on the pump side. Pretty much the same as any other pump. You want to use this Torx bit to push this screen in. Use whatever you have. Alright, I got it. The screen that comes with it is a larger screen. And it just wanted to fold up as it was trying to go in instead of just sliding in. I looked in one of my cases and I found a smaller one that was in a kit from Lord knows where. But it slid right in, no problem. It's in there. We're good. And grab your pump. Make sure you got that set on there properly. But basically what the pump does is these little flapper valves here basically cover up a little hole that's under it. And it's covering up this little hole right there. That one right there. And this one over here is covering up that one right there. And they just pulse back and forth, open and closing. Grab a gasket. And the pump always goes against the carburetor because that's the holes it has to open and close. And then your gasket is on top of that. We'll zoom you back out. Hopefully you got to see everything pretty good. So your carburetor goes on first, and then this plate, and here's the other gasket there. Looks like it's in really good shape. I'm going to clean all this off real good. But the carb will go down, your filter plate goes on top of that. And it looks like we got a choke rod here also we have to get connected. And this looks like it's probably our idle speed there. So let me blow this off real quick and I'll bring you right back. Okie dokie. We're just about ready. Got everything cleaned off pretty good. We'll wipe everything down here real good. Making sure you're wiping away from the intake here. Alright. So I gotta try and figure things out here. Alright, so here's our pulse line. On the carb side. And right here, right there, that little hose barb right there, is the other end, the saw side of the pulse line. I think there's a piece of hose stuck on it. Right there, if you can see that, hopefully. And we got to get a new piece of hose for that. There's another gasket under here too. So now you can get a better look at the pulse tube. A piece of hose stuck to it. Get that off of there. Just cleaned up. And we should be able to use a piece of tie gun. Piece of just fuel on, basically. Stick that foot on there. Yeah, that should work. Alright. So I got a piece of the fuel line on there. We'll leave it long for right now until I get this cover back on. We'll blow it off a little bit. Right. This piece of hose, fuel line here, probably replace that too, because it's kind of tough. Alright, we got that piece on. Slide our carburetor on. Go ahead and replace this piece of fuel line here. I've got plenty of this hose. I'll cut a piece off. That would be nice. That wasn't nice. Go to pick something up, you grab the paper towel too. Okay. No, that's no more no good, right? Huh. That was no more good. I might have to get some larger hose. But that was tough to get on the other one. Alright. Let's see what we got. Alright, that worked out alright. Hopefully, well, it's not returning very well, but I don't think it has anything to do with the carb. Yeah, because that snaps back pretty easy. Yeah. There's some gumminess in here, so I'll probably take this handle assembly apart and clean in there. I think I would probably have to do that now, I guess. Alright, there's a screw on the bottom side. Hopefully that will release part of the handle for me. A lot of times that's how some of the old Stihls were. Basically all that did was release this piece from that piece. So that didn't do a whole lot for me, I don't think. I'm sure there's a pin that slides through here for the for this trigger. And there might even be a spring that might supposed to be in here too, possibly. I think that's our valve pin there. Somehow I'm just trying to slide this rubber part of the handle back. There we go. And we'll just shove that back on. Now what it did, well, that's pretty easy. So I wonder if it had something to do with the rubber grip. Looks like it's got a twist to it. So I wonder if we need to trim off some over here. Might have been rubbing against there, because now it's really, really easy. Yep, that was it. All right, so we'll take a good look at this rubber handle here, and I'll bring you guys back and I'll show you what I did. All right, so I did some trimming on this handle, or not the handle, but the rubber covering on the handle. So here on the bottom side, right up here where the trigger is, I made more clearance on the sides, and I made a little more clearance on the front part of it here, so that way it'll open all the way and there will be no rubbing on each side. So it seems to be working. I got full stroke on the trigger, so it opens all the way and closes all the way. Where this rubber handle doesn't like stay place, and it does okay. I mean, it's not wiggling around right now, but it can move around when it starts to get hot or something. The handle starts to get hotter. But so it may create issues again. So maybe I would take it off and wrap it with something, or maybe put some sort of adhesive on the inside or something. But for now, I got the carburetor slid back on. I got the throttle linkage hooked up. I got the fuel line hooked up, and I still got my pulse line here. And let me slide this on real quick. I'm not going to worry about hooking the choke up right this second. I just want to set this up here to see what it looks like. And yeah, I got plenty of clearance, so I should be able to cut this hose now and do what I need to do with it. Alright. Now I can hook my pulse line up to my pulse on the carburetor. And you should be good to go there. So this is what I would do, because there's a little bit of play in this carburetor. It will rock side to side like so. So right now the hoses are putting a little bit of torque on it, causing it to pull around. Holding it in place like that, when I pull the trigger right there toward the end, it wants to shove the carburetor back. So what I would do is I would put this cover on, and just before I tighten these nuts down on the screw, I would pull the trigger to the full throttle position and then snug them down, and that will put the carburetor in the proper position. So let's hook our little choke rod up here to our choke. And then all you have to do is just roll it down on top and line your studs up with the holes. And then on this side here, you've got this little tab. And that little tab lines up with that screw there. So I gotta loosen it up here a little bit. Alright. And then we'll slide this screw back. And this screw is also part of holding the, no, maybe not. It holds the handle assembly too, I think. We drop that back down into there. On our screw back in. We're just going to snug it. We're not going to tighten it yet. Just snug there, and we'll just leave this snug here. We're not going to tighten that yet either, because it's going to have a lot to do with our tightening our nuts down for the carburetor. Just a quick check, make sure our choke operates properly, and it does. We'll close it off so we don't drop a nut down in there. That would be a bad day. It could be. Alright, we're going to squeeze our there we go. We'll squeeze our trigger at full throttle, and we'll go ahead and snug these down. Alright, make sure everything still operates properly. So I can see it bottom out. Yep, I see it bottom out. And when I let go of the trigger, I can hear it going back. So we're good there. Let's check our choke. Choke has worked fine. Alright. And our trigger lock. Let's make sure that works fine. There we go. That works good. Alright, so now we got these two nuts screwed down up here. Now we can go back and tighten up our little connection piece here. Tighten these two screws up. Now that we know the carburetor is settled into its spot and everything is going to work properly, not bind. Alright. One more time, make sure everything works properly. Alright, we're good here. All of our hoses are in a good spot. They're not going to get hung up on anything. And in all out reality, we could put some fuel in this thing and see if it would fire up. Alright? Yeah, we could do that before we start putting it together too much. There isn't much left. Don't forget, guys, send me some comments. You're supposed to send me some comments about this. What model Soul is this? We'll find out today, because as long as everything is right, I'm going to put that cover back on there, and that cover will show you what model this Soul is. But for the time being, I'm going to get some fuel, and we're going to put some in this Soul, and we're going to see if she'll fire up. Fuel tank looks really clean inside. The hose looks pretty good still. Still flexible. It's got a good filter on the end of it. That looks very nice and clean. That should be good enough. We already have oil in it, so if we can get it to fire off, we'll also be able to see if it's oiling also. Alright, keep in mind this is an old school saw, so there is no brake on this thing, so make sure you're starting it up properly. It's not a very good idea to sit there and drop start a saw like so, because what I've had happen before, and I got lucky that it didn't start, but I've had the because it locked up on compression when I went to go pull it, and the saw went like this and threw the bar and chain right into my leg. So never drop start a saw. I think I discussed this once before. One of the best ways to start a saw is to grab it right here in the curve section. You take that rear handle, put it right between your legs. Good and secure. It's one of the ways they would teach you if you went to school for this kind of stuff. And then you're able to start it up with no issues. I'm going to pull it over a few times. See if we can't get the fuel to start pulling up. All right, let's see what happens. Here we go. All right, we got fuel in our fuel line. Awesome. We've got something running that hasn't ran in a long time. I'm sure the man will be happy. Alright, so we know it's oiling. We know it's running. It's bench tuned for right now. We'll get the bar, the rest of it back together and the bar and chain on it. And we'll put this thing in the wood and see how she cuts. All right. There's the chain. There's the bar. The bar needs a little bit of work. I'm not going to worry about it right this minute. And here's one of the old school saws. So it's got the adjuster on the inside between the felon spikes and the bar. So sometimes they can be a little bit of a pain. I prefer the ones that are on the side, like the new style stuff is today. I'm sure we all do. A little easier to get to, huh? Okay. Well, one thing, it's got a pretty good oiler on it. There we go. I'll probably have to, chain's not terrible, but we'll touch it up before we give it back. And this is, so it's a 3/8 chain. 72 links. And somewhere I can't see what gauge it's supposed to be. Big saw like this, it might be like a 58 or something. Alright. And this looks like a, yep. It's a full comp, full chisel. Try this again. Come on. Get on there. Shoot. That's crazy. Alright, got the chain on. Now we slide the bar on. Again. There we go, finally. Alright, I got it snug right now. I hope you're sending in those comments. The reveal will be coming up soon. And what model this is. Saw's got pretty good balance. So I would say it's probably got the right size bar on it. Sit there and just hold it and it's perfectly level. It's not bar heavy, it's not body heavy. Nice, fired up on the first pull. No choke. Alright, let's go ahead and get our filter on. It's an old school flock filter. I'm going to blow this off real quick. I'll bring you back in a minute. Alright, I got the air filter cleaned up. It is a flock style filter, so it is kind of worn out. I'm gonna see if I can find them a new one. The underside's not too bad, but the top side, a lot of it's worn away, just screen left. So get that set into place. I'll see if I can find him another one. Maybe he already has one, I don't know. And now for the top cover, which will reveal what this is. It's kind of hard to make out, but this is a Stihl 041 Farm Boss 0, 4, and 1. That's what this is, an 041 Farm Boss. And there we go. We got a complete saw now. So, I looked up some stuff, found some fun facts, and I found this on forestry.com. So the Stihl 041 came out in 1967, and it ran through 1986 with the different variants, such as the regular 041, the AV Super, and stuff like that. So it is a 61cc saw with a magnesium case. The super version of this saw was a larger bore and piston, so that would come out to be, ended up being a 72cc saw. And it weighs, just the power head alone without the bar and chain, it runs right around 15 pounds, so it's kind of heavy, especially for today's standards. And this saw is the standard, the regular 041 Farm Boss, so there's no anti-vibe on this saw. You feel everything it does, which can lead to fatigue. That's why saws are made the way they are today, to help out with that. They're lighter weight, less vibration, and all that adds up to less fatigue in a day's time. Alright, I'm going to get set up outside. We're going to put this thing in the wood and give it its final tune, and we'll see how she runs.